Thank you for being here on The Messy Truth.
Glad to be with you.
Look, it's been a crazy week. A lot of bad stuff has been going on. But I'm very, very concerned about the poor folks, the vulnerable folks, the people who can't deal with these type of cuts. Where is the populism? This is just a complete conservative attack, isn't it?
Now, what we're looking at is President Trump doing everything he promised on his campaign. We suffered through 8 years of Barack Obama. Our children and grandchildren today have $20 trillion of debt hanging over their backs. We've lost any wiggle room we had in Washington with $20 trillion of debt. We've had the weakest economic recovery in history coming off of depression, give or take 1% GDP growth. We need to get the economy moving. We need to secure our borders. We need to make sure that the failed Obamacare, which has failed and imploded.
Listen, you guys have been doing this now for 7 years, almost 8 years. You just jump up and down on the anti-Obama Pogo Stick. I hate to tell you this. You guys are now the governing party.
You got it.
You're the governing party. And you just put forward a budget that destroys programs like Meals on Wheels. Matt, I just actually want to ask you personally. You got a good heart, a big heart. When you look at some of these programs that are being cut back for people who need help, those voters who voted for Trump, they were voting for jobs. There's no jobs package. They were voting for trade. You guys haven't done anything on trade, but you come up with a health care bill that's going to push 20 people off of health care. Isn't that terrible?
Well, let's start with trade. We pulled out of the Trans-Pacific Partnership, TPP.
It's a negative action, but you haven't renegotiated one trade deal, not one.
Well, that's going to be coming. I mean, he's been in office like 2 months. Let's remember, 2 months. We are accomplishing everything we promised. The repeal and replacement of Obamacare, and you have to say it has failed. People lost their doctors. They lost their insurance. 1/3 of the counties in the United States today have one offering. It's a bronze plan with $10,000 deductible. I don't know how many people in the audience have $10,000 in the cookie jar to cover their deductibles.
Well,
they don't
have.
They
also don't have $10,000 for those health savings plans you guys want people to put all the money into. So your plans have some challenges as well.
We're always going to have challenges because we're such a diverse country. We are going to give choice back to the American public and to companies. The biggest thing we're doing by removing the employer mandate are all the small businesses in America that want to grow beyond 49 employees and get our economy moving. They can do it. They can go to 60 employees, 70 employees. People that were working a part-time job of their choice at 39 hours a week were cut to 26 hours under Obamacare.
Well, listen, I want to bring somebody in here.
2 jobs instead of one.
Listen, I can sit up here and tell you great stories about people whose lives were saved by Obamacare, but let's actually hear from you. You got real people here who are chomping at the bit. Let's bring Bob in, and he's a Trump voter who's got real concerns.
Hi, my name is Bob Rusko. I'm 57 years old, married, 1 daughter, 3 grandkids. Before Obamacare, we were uninsured for 5 years, and I've been on the ACA since it began. Having the coverage has allowed us to get regular checkups, preventative care, and even some nutrition advice. And I also have colon cancer in the family history. This has offered some peace of mind and allowed us to have a good quality of life. I noticed with the plan coming up that people in my age group are going to be seeing a substantial premium increase. I'm a little concerned about having to make the decision of coverage or no coverage, again, due to costs.
So you have a Trump voter who was in a negative situation. Obamacare helped this guy, and he's concerned he's now going to be back in that bad situation where he's got to choose between coverage or no coverage. What do you say to a Trump voter? And by the way, these older Trump voters are the ones that are getting hammered. Younger voters actually are not getting hammered. You're hammering your own constituents.
Well, first of all, it goes back to state's choice. Let me talk about New York. We're in New York. You're not going to face, are you from New York?
No, sir, from Florida.
Okay, well, in New York, under our state insurance commissioner, we have what we call a 1-to-1. You cannot charge an older person even $1 more than a younger person. Now, under Obamacare, it was 3-to-1. You could charge an older person 3 times.
Well, look, that's great for New York, but what about everybody else? You got a national audience here. What about everybody else?
So now what we're doing is we're leaving it up to the states to decide what number works for them. The fact of the matter is, an older person is more expensive to an insurance company. The insurance companies have been leaving because they do have to pay their bills. So we're leaving it up to the states. We are putting in refundable tax credits at a higher dollar level for yourself. a much higher dollar amount than there is for a younger person to level that playing field. And we're still tweaking that even as we speak now. The final plan is not yet finalized.
Bob,
we're continuing to tweak that.
do you feel comforted by the idea of a refundable tax credit?
That's cash going to you to buy your plan.
I'm hopeful that the plan will be available, that we can fit into our needs so we can still get the preventative care. That's really a big issue.
We have not changed the essential benefit package at all. Not whatever you've heard from the Democrats. We have not changed the essential benefit package one iota. And I'm comfortable, Bob, that you will have with higher, it's cash in your hand. It's a refundable tax credit. Whether you're paying taxes or not, you're getting the cash to buy a plan that works for you, which is different than buying a plan that works for someone else.
Congressman, let me tell you something that
you're in charge.
Thank you very much. And Bob, thank you. Congress, let me tell you something that you are changing. You are cutting back on some community block grants that are needed, and you're hitting programs like Meals on Wheels. And when I heard that, it made me very, very concerned. So here's what I decided to do. Rather than just argue with you about it and other pundits, I actually went out in the streets of New York, and I talked to a real person who's actually benefiting from this program. And here's what happened when I knocked on her door. Lord, some serious stuff.
Come in.
Hi.
Hello, come on
Hi,
in.
I'm Van. Oh, it's so good to see you. I brought you some, brought you some groceries.
Oh my goodness.
Brought you some gifts.
Oh, thank you.
So glad to see you. So I've got a very important congressman on tonight. If you could tell him anything, and what would you say to that congressperson?
I think you should try to put yourself in my situation, and what would you do? Like I indicated, I am on a fixed income. I am basically homebound. I haven't been out of this apartment in like 7 years. How else would I eat? I don't know. I really don't know how I would receive healthy food. And, you know, I used to laugh about the jokes about senior citizens eating dog food. I can understand now exactly what they're talking about.
Yeah. Well, you got 2.4 million people just like her. She can't get down those stairs. She hasn't been down those stairs in 7 years. There are people sick and shut in. You know what that means. You're a person of faith.
Oh, you?
Sick and shut in. And you got people who are every day climbing those stairs, helping people. You want to take 30% of their money away from them. How can you justify that?
I'm not going to try to justify it because that's not my plan. What you have right now is a top-line blueprint from President Trump and his supporters or his advisors. That's not the congressional budget.
So you disagree with
I do disagree
with knocking
with
out
that.
Meals on Wheels. Give him a round of applause because I'm glad some Republican is going to show some heart here. You can't have grandma eating cat food as your economic policy.
My mother-in-law, prior to her passing on, she had Meals on Wheels at her apartment 5 days a week. It's not 7 days a week, but they bring that extra meal for on the weekends.
Leave it over there.
And it was her way also to know she was safe. She lived alone. So I absolutely, and as a county executive in Erie County, Meals on Wheels was part of my job to oversee as a county executive. I would go to the senior centers, and it were the senior centers where we dispatched the Meals on Wheels.
So
these are volunteers.
Why would Trump then drop a bomb on that program?
I mean, this is the president's budget. I'm not sure where the details came from, but I can pretty much assure America the congressional budget, and when we get into appropriations, Meals on Wheels is a wonderful program.
Wow.
It is one I would never vote to cut even $1.
Well, listen, I hope the president's watching. That's very, very good to hear. Listen, I really want you to stick around.